Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and very warm welcome to this session today. I am, and I think we would uh, start immediately. So, just to set the context for the discussion today, I'm sure you all are aware that RBI has recently come up with a circular for the regulated entities, where RBI is expecting the entities to implement a regulatory compliance solution enterprise-wide and bring technology into the compliance monitoring process so that a board has a better visibility. The stakeholders have better clarity about the regulatory risks and their statuses so that you can be better compliant. And I'm sure you all know better than me that recently there have been instances where the organizations have been found on the wrong side of the compliance. And I won't say anything that there was any intentional non-compliances, but the sheer quantum of compliance is so huge that you really need to have be on the toes all the time to be in to ensure that you are compliant. And doing it alone, doing it without the usage of technology, without having a backing of a large team behind you is not possible. And having the right kind of a mechanism, it's not possible. And today's discussion session is, is more of a panel discussion, is more of a idea sharing and knowledge, and experience sharing, wherein we would talk about first what the circular uh, says, and how organizations can, bring better practices of implementing compliance solutions. And is easy, bringing in a technology is very easy said than done. It's not easy to implement and ensure the technology is put into the best use. So we will try and discuss on those aspects also as to how you can use the technology better. And before I jump into the main discussion, I'll just do my customary introduction about Lawrbit. We are a regtech service provider. We offer a regulatory compliance management solution. The prime solution which we have is a global compliance management solution, which is the perfectly fit in the today's discussion. This solution brings the workflows along with integrated regulatory intelligence across all laws, all compliances in not just in India, but globally as well. While today's discussion is from an IP perspective, so we'll remain more on India. So this integrates the regulatory intelligence about all the laws and compliances in India, and it allows you to workflows very seamlessly to manage or to integrate your different functions across a large organization, large groups to manage your compliances effectively. Today, this solution is being used by 250 plus entities in globally. We have a team of around 70 plus lawyers and experts who are working in the back end to support you in this with this product. And we are serving on 35 plus industries, be it BFSI to regulated entities to hotels or international airports to to retail organizations to healthcare to chemicals manufacturing businesses. We are supporting it all. And that's a quick introduction about ourselves. And without wasting much time, let's quickly get into the discussion mode right now. And Akash, I can't see you. If you could just keep your cameras on.
Hi, Jyant. My camera is on. I don't know why.
Okay, but we can't see you.
It is on. Okay, let me try once again to rejoin. Okay.
Sure, Akash. So let me quickly introduce our panelists today. I'm sure you all are aware of Vinay Gupta. Hi, Vinay. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for being on this discussion today. Vinay is, a unique proposition which Vinay brings on the discussion today. So Vinay is is a legal head legal and compliance and company secretary for ICRA, which is again a regulated entity. Vinay brings 20 plus years of experience in working with the large organizations. He has also played a role of a CFO. So when the compliance officers work closely with CFO, they both have a different perspective to looking at things. But so Vinay has played both the roles, so he understands the both aspects, how an organization-wide compliance solution needs, or enterprise-wide compliance solution things, or what are the enterprise requirement, not just from the solutions perspective. And Vinay would I personally know Vinay for almost like 4 years, and he is he's been giving us a lot of feedback how to effectively utilize the technology and how to bring more innovation in the technology and the processes. And I'm sure his experience, when I was saying it personally, has helped me. I'm sure his experience will be very instrumental for us in this discussion today. Vinay, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Jyant. Pleasure is always mine. And thanks for the introduction. I am humbled. And just a correction here, it is ICRA Analytics, which is a non-rating arm of ICRA.
Right. Thank you. And I also have Aakash Jain, who is the Chief Compliance Officer for Clix Capital. And Aakash brings with himself 15 plus years of experience of legal, secretarial, and risk management in BFSI sector. He's been working in the BFSI sector for long, and he has been, he's worked in various, large groups in the past, where he has been instrumental in using technology, bringing innovations in managing those processes. And again, as I said, we have worked with Aakash closely, and I think Aakash and I know each other for 6 years, and his inputs have really helped us in the initial years when we were starting up, and a lot of things from an industry standpoint, from a functional standpoint, those inputs have come from Aakash. And again, I would say, Aakash, thanks for being here. And we look forward to hearing your perspective on some of the granular and aspects which we will discuss during the discussion today.
Sure, Jan. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thanks.
And before we get into the discussion, just want to add a small disclaimer. All the discussions, all the views which our both the speakers are going to express today, these are their personal views. Don't take it as an advisory. And neither it represents any of their organizational standing and organization view. So it's an open discussion. Feel free to chat. Feel free to ask your questions. We will try, because today's discussion is more of an idea sharing and learning. It's not a flow per se, where we would want to make it a monologue from our side. So please feel free, write into chat. Let's have open discussion. So I think we've, I've broadly touched upon the agenda, but and we would be touching about the RBI circular, need for automation of a technology for compliance monitoring, the regulatory landscape in India, how complex it is, and why the regulators, be it MCA or SEBI or now the RBI, are emphasizing a lot on implementing a compliance monitoring process and using of technology. And we would also dwell a little upon the list of applicable laws for NBFC and try and understand some granularities onto it, and what could be a course of action depending on the recent circular of RBI. Okay, I'm sure this circular you have seen more than I have seen this. Because RBI once has expected you to respond to it and acknowledge the receipt also. I'm sure you all would have done it. Now, there are 2-3 aspects which I want to highlight onto this. What RBI has said, and this is basis my experience. I want to quickly highlight onto it. When I look at how the industry, I would say different industries, different, be it hospitality to airports to manufacturing setups, how do they approach regulatory compliances, and how regulated entities or RBI regulated entities, they approach a compliance monitoring or process are slightly different. because RBI regulated entities, they themselves have a huge burden of RBI compliance. The expectation of RBI compliance itself is huge, and RBI expects to have a chief compliance officer, and usually the regulated entities would have a chief compliance officer specifically from an RBI perspective. So whenever I talk to the BFSI sector or the regulated entities, the one common thing I come across is we are looking for a solution which is which will take care of my RBI related compliances or regulators compliances. But in this particular circular, RBI has emphasized on certain words. It says there, and you should look at the first highlighted point. There is thus a need to implement comprehensive, integrated, enterprise-wide and workflow-based solutions tools. Now, they have emphasized on the word comprehensive, integrated, and enterprise-wide. The moment the words enterprise-wide and comprehensive are used, it does not just talk about RBI related or regulators compliance. It talks about everything. And maybe Aakash, I hear because when you and I were discussing, you had some very interesting points to share on this. So maybe I request if you could throw some light onto this before we move forward.
Yeah, sure, Jyant. I mean, RBI, intent is clear completely. I mean, they have clearly mentioned that they need something as automated solution tool, which is comprehensive, integrated, enterprise-wide. When they say enterprise-wide, it means they are looking for a holistic view. I mean, we cannot rely completely on the RBI circulars or the FEMA guidelines or anything which is notifications issued by RBI. But it should be looked as a holistic at an enterprise level, whether it is related to admin compliances or any HR compliances, tax compliances, in addition to RBI, ROC, IRDA, SEBI. So all those compliances, need to be mapped at one place as a one-stop solution, so that the board or the management of the company has the 360-degree view of the compliances which is applicable and where the organization is standing as on the date.
Right. And Aakash, what changes this brings to the life of a chief compliance officer who till today is more always focused on the regulatory company? Because what I understand is from an RBI perspective, also your life is not easy. You have to be on the toes 24/7 on to the compliances of RBI. What change it brings to your life?
So see, let me take you back before I start with this circular. I mean, RBI has already introduced a circular in April 2022, which specifically talks about the appointment of a chief compliance officer and a compliance function. And they have given time, like more than a year, where this needs to be implemented in the organization. And the effective date was 1st of October 2023. And in the guidelines, if you see, RBI has clearly called upon that compliance function should be an independent function. CCO should not be doing any dual hatting. Compliance should be, maintained from a regulatory perspective completely in both letter and spirit, in a time-bound and sustainable manner. Compliance assurance testing should be a part. Compliance risk assessment should also be a part for a chief compliance officer. So that, I mean, RBI has already, introduced at that point of time, and now slowly, they understand and they have, brought out the new circular which speaks about more, streamlining those compliances. Though chief compliance officer is a regulated position of RBI, and they have come out, with a lot of regulations and these circulars. If you see, I mean, every week there is one new circular which we need to read upon, and we need to think that what all compliances will be applicable for us as an NBFC company, and how we can, distribute it within the team, because obviously every team is equally responsible on that. So we need to, look into all those things, and then slowly we need to, delegate all those things to the teams, and what will be responsible for a compliance team or for the other team members. And if I see this circular, I mean, obviously, it will be helpful for a chief compliance officer, because a lot of things will get automated. The manual risk or, making the Excel files manually and sending to the teams that this return is getting due on this date. Please be assured that you do not miss the due dates and all that. So all those things will get automated, and all the process will get streamlined, so that, it will not only enhance the accuracy, it will also save time for a compliance officer to look for other complex regulations or for other opportunities in the organization from a regulatory standpoint.
Right. Thanks. Thanks, Aakash. Second point, which I want to look at is dashboard view to senior management on compliance position of the regulated entity. Now, this is another very interesting twist in the tail, right? Because you have appointed as chief compliance officer, you recently came up with a chief, a position of a chief compliance officer. Now you're also by a circular are talking about having a dashboard view for the senior management. So somewhere, the way I think it. In companies like 2013, in 2012, when the Companies Act 2013 was the draft we came out, it talked about in section 134 that there was a requirement of a board to certify on the compliance status, and today also it applies. RBI also is making sure that senior management is also aware of the compliance status. While today this circular do not make them responsible for ensuring everything is correct, but in a way they are bringing them into the fold and ensuring that they themselves take responsibility. Vinay, I want to take your opinion here because uh, companies that started with this, I think 2013, 12, and then you had SEBI guidelines also coming onto it. Now RBI talking about it. What's your view about the senior management? How it is going to impact them, and how should they be looking at or getting, should be getting involved into this entire process?
Yeah, so Jyant, I'd like to also, before I answer your question, I think one thing that is very clear and which is coming out of this circular, that RBI is very much aware of the tools that are available, the functionalities which are there. It is not that they have come out of on their own, that these are the things that needs to be required. They are aware where the technology is going, and looking at the overall setup of the government and the regulator, automation is on top of their mind, and they want that the organizations who are specially regulated entities should follow a kind of a regime which is in automated in an automated scenario, because automation not only integrates the entire functions in the organization, it also provides some high level kind of dashboards to the senior management, who are obviously responsible or accountable to the board of directors. So senior management is somebody who owns up the responsibility of whether the company is going in the right direction or not. So one thing is for sure, that once the system gets introduced or system gets installed in the company, the entire legal compliance and admin, finance, other functions get integrated along with it, and a high level view gets to the senior management, and therefore to the board. And also, let us not forget that we are subject to constant audits as well. So once the auditor come on board, they nowadays I have seen that they look for these kind of solutions and the systems and reports that needs to be generated out of the system, to understand who is doing what, and whether there is an audit trail that has been created in the company, how quickly an organization is responsive to any change that comes out in the in the regulatory regime, and how senior management's tone is overall from the compliance perspective. So it is more of a entirely the organization as a whole, rather than considering it to be a function of, let's say, a compliance officer, or a legal head, or a finance head. So that's actually something which has been carved out in this circular very categorically. Yeah.
And while they have not defined the word senior management, so what do you read from the word senior management? Who should be looking into it?
So, Jayant, it is actually quite sort of obvious that whenever there is any term that is being used, and here if you will notice that senior management is in the caps, the first letter. So it means it is a defined term, and defined term is under the Companies Act, under the LODR and other regulations, where senior management is also covers the board to some extent. Definitely the MD and CEO, the chief compliance officer, company secretary, CFO, they are the senior management who are responsible for the day-to-day conduct of the business, and to some extent the board. Because see, ultimately the entire organization is, has a fiduciary responsibility towards its shareholders to, sort of build the value, proposition for them. And senior management consists of, these key positions, key managerial personnel, so to say.
Right. Thank you. Now, coming next, and in fact, thank you, Amreen, for for clarifying. It's defined in scale-based regulation, and I think this is something very important. We have to understand this, all of us. Next thing comes in. It says accordingly, REs are advised to carry out a comprehensive review of the existing internal compliance tracking and monitoring process, and institute necessary changes to existing systems or implement new systems latest by June 30, 2024. They have given a clear timeline. They have very clear categorically told you that you have to review existing system. If your existing systems are not working, whether it's a tech based, whether it's a manual, you have to ensure that you take corrective actions much before June 30th, 2024, and ensure you have the right systems in place. Maybe we'll go deeper into it in a few, in subsequent slides, to talk about how to even check the effectiveness of your existing system, and talk about it. But one very interesting aspect is you have to keep in mind the RBI has used a word, leveraging use of technology. They are not talking anymore like companies that MCA did in companies like 2013, or SEBI, that they did not specify that you have to implement technology. RBI has specified that you have to implement technology. So which today having an Excel and macros based Excel and all, that won't work. Those are the things which RBI has clearly said it is not going to work. You have to use a technology. Now you build a technology, you buy a technology, you hire technology, but the technology is something which you have to rely on. And who all gets impacted by this circular? See, today I would say they have, they're talking about scheduled commercial banks, payment banks, small finance banks, your urban cooperative banks, tier 3 and 4, and NBFCs, upper and middle layer. Now there are in India there are almost like 9,000 plus NBFCs. Right now they have excluded. They're talking about upper and middle layer. The base layer is excluded right now, but I'm sure RBI will come up with the base layer. So even if you are from the base layer, don't sit back and get relaxed. RBI may come up with something, because the sheer volumes of base layer NBFCs are huge. So maybe they are giving a relaxation right now that industry should not be get too maybe the capacities also needs to be there to match the requirement. But this will come up even if you are in the base layer down the line. Housing finance companies or credit information companies. So these all will get impacted. If you want a list, we will talk to us that if you want to check whether you fall into this list or not. Do speak to us, write it to us. We will clarify to you one-on-one. I'll get the next.
Jyant, I just would like to add one point here. If you can go back to the circular.
Okay, let's go back to circular once. Yeah.
So here, there is no option left with the organizations, especially the ones to whom this circular is addressed, to have an Excel-based or a macro-based kind of a solution. They have in the first highlighted section, it is mentioned that it has to be comprehensive, integrated, enterprise-wide, and workflow-based solution. So when we say workflow-based solution, Excel or macros does not provide that functionality. Also, the system has to be a singular system. It should not be that there are 4 different set of tools that are available, which are being utilized to meet the compliance requirement, which I am sure many of the organizations have been doing so far. So clearly, RBI is directing towards having or implementing a tool which should look at holistically the entire compliance framework of the organization, and to integrate in such a way that there is a meaningful dashboard which goes out to the senior management, And senior management is able to take decisions in a timely manner if there are any delays or there are any supposed to be defaults that are going to take place. That is the clear intent. And in the third highlight that you have mentioned, that you have highlighted, it is mentioned that you need to do a comprehensive review. So comprehensive review, there is no definition to comprehensive review. It is, depending upon each and every organization and size and nature of it, as to what do you mean by comprehensive review. But yes, but if tomorrow that they are going to come and audit that whether you have done a comprehensive review or not, they can give you 20 guidelines that whether you have done this, done that, whether you have looked into this system or not. And accordingly, one has to sort of evaluate, the system overall in the organization.
Thanks, Vinay. Thanks for adding this. And Akshit has also now added the definition of senior management in the chat box. You may refer to this. So I think it's also important to with reading these definitions, you to create a right kind of awareness about this circular, because it's going to it's going to come back and impact. So while I'm sure. I know you would all have done your homework, understood it, but I'll just quickly tell you. See, today the technology has evolved a lot, and just talking about it, I think in India these technologies are developing for almost like 20 years now, and from 2021 this industry became like lot more organized, and from because companies like 2013 had a mention of using a compliance solution. They did not talk about technology per se, but from there and then onwards, people started implementing compliance solutions. But what advantage it gives you, and maybe while without this slide is more from a reference perspective for everyone. Maybe Aakash, I would want to come back to you and say, you have used technologies, how it has helped you, improve the current structure or current framework.
So Jyant, obviously, when the compliance tool was not there, there was a lot of things which we need to do manually. There are a lot of times it happened that there were, manual errors which we have, incurred while sending the sheet to the teams, and then later on, realize that the date or the requirement, either we have not sent or it got missed by mistake. But I think after this circular, though we have already implemented tool in our organization. So post implementation of the tool, it has helped us a lot. The complete elimination of the manual things, and then data collection, data storage, data evidence, asking the team to provide us the data related to particular compliance, that whether they have done it or not. So those follow-ups with the teams, all those has been completely eliminated. And now since the tool is completely automated and the things are working with a flow, it happens that many of the times when the new circular pitch in, then we obviously look into the circular and try to summarize that what is the requirement of the law, and then understand it. And maybe many of the times we send the summary to our management teams and also to the relevant stakeholders, that what is the requirement and how they need to do a preparation on it. And simultaneously, we obviously take a help with our partners to have the compliance list ready, so that it can be mapped in the tool, so that we cannot miss the timeline. Many of the times I have seen that, in the last 1 year, there were like almost 17, 18 circulars which RBI has issued, very frequently on a lot of things. And then the scale-based regulations coming in, which is completely, eliminating and revamping the nbfc NDSI directions, and bringing in a lot of new things in the scale-based regulations. So all those things, it took time for us to implement all those things in the tool. There was a lot of challenges which we have incurred. Obviously, we faced a lot of laid back approach from few of our employees, because they are okay with what they are doing, but the technology thing or the automation thing which they need to adopt, we face quite few challenges related to it. But somehow, after providing trainings and proper guidance and making them understand that obviously, we are a growing entity, and in a long term, obviously this will be helpful for us, and with the help of some of our functional leaders, we'll try to got the tool implemented here, and all the frameworks which is getting applicable on us, we got it tagged in the system. And initially it happened that that when the compliances were provided, many people say that, okay, this does not belong to me, this is to admin, this is to HR, this is finance, this is credit. So a lot of challenges has been faced at the initial time. And then we have done a lot of remappings in the tool itself post, getting the tool in place. But somehow, now as on date, I can say that, okay, we are completely automated and all those things has been, taken care of.
Right. In fact, I think that's also a good thing because today these things gets missed in the cracks that nobody knows who owns it, and there is without having a clear-cut defined definitions of people's roles, responsibility with reference to compliances. I think there are a possibility, higher possibility of misses, but with this implementation of this tool, at least those things get sorted so that you have an organization-wide view, no matter how large is in the scale of your organization. It can be seen in a single sheet as to where the buck stops for each response obligation. And also one thing, Akash, you were talking about the circulars. I want to highlight everyone on the third point, number 3. Difficulty in tracking fast changing regulatory expectations. India, there were around 8,000 plus regulatory updates in the last year. 8,000 plus. That's a quantum in India. And it could be one liner, it could be one pager, it could be 100 pager as well. Tracking it itself is so challenging. No one is having, no organization today, because by virtue we're working with the largest of the organizations, largest of the groups today. There also I can say this is a full-time job and you need a dedicated team to it. Without a technology, it becomes very difficult to track all. So if you have a right technology which is providing you on a real-time updates, so that you don't have to worry about keeping hundreds of, being a part of hundreds of WhatsApp groups to get your news feed. You are sorted that every morning you will have a mailer in your mailbox. You can check what came last night and look at the relevant ones for yourself. Vinay, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so Jyant, we are at a stage, where, the entire country is undergoing a major shift. And we all experience that some way or the other. We all experience that, it is undergoing a technological shift. It is undergoing, the overall, demographic changes that are, taking place, and the automation and technology and so on and so forth. We are the exporters of technology. I mean, in so to say, the IT resources worldwide. So, having these regulations being undergoing a change, and therefore many things are coming up on a day-to-day basis. Every regulator is kind of on its toes to kind of ensure that there are no slippages, there are no lags, etc. Recently, there this 3 very old criminal laws got revamped completely, and then there is code of labor law codes which are going to be changed and revamped in the entire organization. So yes, I think this number is only going to increase over a period of time. And having a manual kind of a follow-up system may not work any longer. So therefore, I think organizations do have to also understand how to save time, efforts, and also to clearly define the roles and responsibilities of each individual as to who is responsible for what. So out of 8,000, if any organization, believe me, has only have even 10% of these regulatory changes being applied to it, it is a nightmare if it is being done in a manual environment.
Right. Yeah, and one thing which you were saying, and it reminded me of one conversation today morning I was having with someone. See, someone was talking about, why would I use the technology? I said the point is not why would you use the technology. The point is that when the world changes, when our way of working changes, you can't change it back. I remember my dad who used to be in that time. I'm talking about 30 years back, and what I remember, he was an accounts field, and that time he used to have those big khata books. This large size, and it's almost like 10 kg books he used to carry. Those books are used to make manual entry. Think about it. After the tally came in and the ERPs came in, can we go back to the, can anybody who is working on an ERP can go back to the Khata book? Not possible. Same way, if somebody has adopted a compliance technology in the existing organization, if they move to the new next one, and if you are not implementing one, trust me, retaining and attracting talent also will become a challenge for you, because people will not be able to use today, no matter how much you pay, you tell someone to use a Khata book, he will not want to work with you for the next, the very next day. So that's how
Absolutely.
the technology, is. When people are coming from organizations where they have been used to it, you are not providing them, they may not stick with you.
And
So
just to
that's
add,
again a
Jayant, yeah, just to add on technology, see, we are kind of in a generation where we have seen, the manual work shifting to a digital platforms and digital scenarios. We used to have some, phones which were outdated and all of that. Now, best in class phones, iPads, laptops, etc., are available. The young generation who is getting trained, they do not understand the definition of somebody sitting on top of them sending an email, do this, do that. They are not so very comfortable doing that. If you align them to a system, to a process, to an automated tool, they would be able to understand and appreciate it more, because they will also be an element of doing the work at their convenience. And so to say, if somebody wants to do a particular compliance late in the evening. Obviously, in the earlier times, there used to be Khata book, as you mentioned. Nobody can, do it. One has to come to office and do it. But now one can do it from, the leisure of of our homes. And COVID has taught us many things. COVID has
right.
taught us many things, like how we are communicating today.
True. Right. And going back is never easy. I tell our kids to that we used to have those phones, that they tell you the landline phones, and then they tell you, oh, you used to be in the old ages. And I feel that I was in, I don't know what ages are we running. So yeah, they can't relate to it and they won't be able to adapt to it. Yeah. Great. So next couple of quick sliders for everyone's reference. If so, just to give you a glimpse about the regulatory landscape of India. There are almost like 2,000 plus laws and regulations, and we just highlighted the key ones here. India is a very complex, and I'm saying why am I making? I'm able to make this statement because we are offering a global regulatory compliance software. We are reading the laws and compliances across the globe. Other than US, I think India is the only country which is so complex in terms of the laws. If you are operating in multiple states, trust me, it's a virtual nightmare of managing your compliances without a robust technology in place. And again, the pace at which the laws are changing, the regulators are changing, and there are multiple factors which play onto it. Election seasons, the state governments, the local, municipal elections, the industries which is getting set up there. Anything can, economics and situations, anything can play a role. And if you are, if you're not having sources of which we keep you updated, which keep you, help you understand the best practices, operating a larger organization is going to be a nightmare in India without the usage of it. Now, here one slide I just want maybe Aakash to talk about. And here we divided this section this into two sections. One, we're talking about NBFC only, and there are some regulations which some master direction which may be applicable on a base layer, something which is applicable on a middle layer, something which is specifically for HFCs. But this is a complete list. Now, what I've very interestingly seen, because for a chief compliance officer of a regulated entity, this itself is huge. If I'm running a factory, I still have a lesser number of factory regulations, but running a regulated entity, uh, the compliance obligation from an RBI regulator itself is so huge that beyond this, you don't feel like looking at anything. And in the next slide, we come on the non-regulated entity, laws also. So Akash, anything you want to highlight here? How do you view this? And then I'll throw a list of these are only the laws. I'm not talking about the number of pages of written here and the number of compliance obligation you have. This is just the name of law. and not or the direct master direction?
Absolutely, Jayant. I mean, though even I am seeing like a lot of things. Though I mean, a lot of guidelines is being applicable on a piecemeal basis time to time, but as a consolidation or as a holistic view, I mean, there are a lot of compliances which we need to monitor. What we do is that I will share my experience. I mean, we look into some major guidelines which are applicable on a day-to-day affairs of the company, just like KYC directions. So KYC directions is like most important directions for our organization where we are into the lending business and onboarding the customer on a daily basis. So what all checks need to be in place while onboarding a customer, training the sales team, field staff, what all are the documents which is required, how the loan journey will be there from start to end. So we are into the a business of lending where we are into the digital journey also, and also where we have the field staff where they are meeting the customers and collecting the documents from them and logging into the system and all those things. So I mean, if I take a single guideline, I mean, there are like hundreds of compliances, small things which we need to follow. Just for example, like if any customer has a shareholding of more than 10%, you need to collect the KYC of that shareholder also. So if your company is being taking a donation from a charity as a charitable and religious purposes, you need to get it registration with Darpan, which is like a new thing which RBI has insisted all the regulated entities to do, even if the customer is not doing. So there are a lot of small things, I mean, which we need to looked upon and take care of. And obviously, I mean, we are a 3-member team as of now, and compliance tool really helped us to consolidate all the requirements together, so that I mean we can manage the show. Because you also know that in the tool itself, though we all are update regularly about the due date compliances which are getting due or filing of the returns and all that, but there are a lot of ongoing compliances. There are a lot of event-based compliances which people have the idea or the awareness that they are there somewhere, but they don't know when it is applied, or they are not aware that whether intentionally or unintentionally they are complying or not complying. There is no control, no mechanism in place. Now, thankfully, when this compliance tool coming into the place, I mean, it's really helpful for us as a chief compliance officer. It is very helpful that I can at least have a track as a at one place, that okay, these all guidelines are there, these are the number of stakeholders to whom these guidelines has been aligned, and these are the accountable persons where I can go and speak on that what is the problem, what is the issue, or if the compliance is being done, then I can see the report in the dashboard. Okay, this team has performed very well during the on a monthly basis. And now I think we have also come up with the idea, though it is on initial stage, that every quarter, I mean, the team who perform the compliances completely in the tool without missing anything or without getting into the overdue, we will award them. So that making the people feel the importance of the compliance tool, so that people get motivational efforts, put their motivational efforts to make the compliances. And we all know that after the tragedy of this Paytm payment bank, I think governance and the compliance is the most important thing as on date to look upon. And I think technology is there, but compliance should be the first preference for all the organizations who are highly regulated.
Right. And maybe Ankita, if you could move to the next slide. When I want you to jump, pitch in here. Now, this is again go back to my first point. Chief compliance officers is a regulated position. Normally, they look at the regulator's compliance, the RBI compliance, or maybe if you have IIDA, those set of regulators compliance. But these are other important compliance laws which are applicable on you. How do you see as a compliance officer? Because while they not be on a direct responsibility, but now in the current circular it says enterprise wide. You can't afford to miss on this.
Yeah, Jain. So I would say as a compliance officer, it is not that you have been hired for meeting the compliances pertaining to RBI only. As I mentioned briefly, that it depends. It also reflects the tone of the organization if they comply with certain laws and if they ignore the other laws. That is not something holistic kind of a compliance framework that one wants to implement. Somebody as you know, I would say, an aware compliance officer would like to understand, the overall posture of the organization, the tone of the senior management, and also, the various compliances that are applicable on us. You have shown a list of so many, acts and regulations, and I would think, you know, most of it is, now kind of, these are all independent, acts, and they have their own, penalties, fines, etc. So if somebody defaults on any of the compliances, you are bound to receive a notice. Why? Because the regulator is so aware these days. He's asking all the data in on through online medium, so they can easily assess and check, and where is it that you have done the compliance, where is it. So sooner or later they may point it out that this is something which has not been done, or if, let's say, the inspection takes place, then these things would be highlighted. So as a compliance officer or a chief compliance officer, one has to have a holistic view of all the acts that are applicable on it. And believe me, even if somebody says that I'm 100% compliant, he has to think again, because there are certain acts which one may not be aware of. And one, I mean, for organizations like ours also, there are certain acts which we were not aware of. When we came to know about it through industry bodies and through circles, etc., we said, okay, fine, this is also there, that needs to be complied, and which is there since 1960 or so. So we immediately took charge, and we started complying with it, and the department also appreciated it, that you are on a suo motu basis, you are doing this. So scenarios have changed. Gone are the days when 10 years ago, everything was manual. Here, everything is automated, and regulators are much, much more faster and aware, because they see tens of entities like you on a regular basis, whereas you are, the only person who is doing the compliance, isn't it? So everything
Right.
is, I would say, is important, and having one tool which can address all these issues, problems, or can map all the relevant compliances, is something that one should look at.
No, in fact, I also want to quote one example here, and I was interacting with a regulated entity. So and RBI ombudsman today everybody is aware of. Anybody can reach out to ombudsman, whether you're client, customer, or maybe somebody internal stakeholder also, and anonymous mail also goes out. There was a complaint against for non-compliance onto certain HR regulations. Maybe it's a, I would not go deeper into it, but uh, on some regulations, RBI responded on that also. They wanted an inquiry to be conducted. They wanted the entity to confirm on the steps taken to ensure it doesn't happen in future. So these becomes an audit point for RBI. So RBI does not, while I would say RBI is interested in RBI compliance, but they don't close their eyes on anything. And with the technology, with every information available everywhere, and people reaching out for any non-breach, I'm thinking is, if you have a vendor whom you're not paying, being a regulated entity, he may be reaching out to RBI ombudsman, and RBI may still, send you a notice as to inquire about why you're not paid if it is a genuine case. Even if you have to be aware of every such regulations, ensure that you are on the right side of the law when you're running a regulated entity. You just can't say this is not mine. And challenge comes is by being, I may not be aware of every law. That's the biggest challenge now, because too many laws are there, and if sometimes we don't even know. Like for example, HIV, AIDS Prevention and Control Act 2017, applicable on you. What do you need to do? You need to possibly have a policy in the training manuals and training mechanisms there, and awareness to be created, so that you are you're on the right side. But if you're not, there is something which may come up for you. No, but so how would you do? These technologies will also help you get better aware of these compliances. So that at least, even if you're not an expert, you have the basic information understanding, so that you can manage and have a control in place. All right, now if anybody has any questions by now, please feel free to ask, so that in the last 10 minutes we use the time to address your queries as well. And we also tell you about the course of action which you will have, we need to have. And here I would say RBI, again, I'm going back to the first slide, which we talk about. RBI expects regulated entities to ensure an effective solution is in place. Merely having a, sort, because they have told you to look at your existing solutions, look at your, existing, controls, and then evaluate if the existing one is working effectively or not. It may be a compliance management solution. You can just merely say, I have one. But if it is not working well, it is not going to help you, right? Maybe, maybe Aakash, I would want to ask take your opinion. What played in your mind? What were the tips you would want to give to anyone? Because if in a scenario you are not using anything right now, how do you go about, finally deciding onto something, and how do you go about making a right decision about what should be implemented and how it should be implemented?
Okay, Jayant, if I was there, I mean, I will definitely look, for the tools in the market which are available, and I obviously have the the overview of the complete tool, and look into the scenarios where the tool can be helpful as an organization for us, whether it is an NBFC or a non-NBFC or a housing finance company, and definitely the non-RBI laws which you just showed. So all those things, how those get implemented in the tool, what kind of the facilities are provided in the tool, whether the dashboard is giving me enough data to present it to the stakeholders or to the management, whether the option of having a compliance certificate in the tool which we need to submit to the board on a quarterly basis is available or not, how it looks like, I mean, what type of benefits I am getting out of the tool, and then whether this tool is user friendly or not, the team will be able to collaborate with that technology or not, and then what is the data, what type of data, I mean, the compliance vendor or a tool vendor will provide, so that it will be effective for us. So I just wanted to give some few tips, like if somebody is looking out for a compliance solution tool, I mean, it should be with a you should look out for the persons or the vendors who are completely focused with an who has complete approach of complete focus on the tools, that they do completely know the ins and outs of the tool completely, has the experience and the the qualified team members with them, which can help you out to understand the compliances where you want to have the expert opinion or the views, that how what is the meaning of the compliance, how this compliance will be helpful for us. Obviously, it's a two-way communication. What is applicable, what is not applicable, that can obviously be discussed with the teams. If you have a good qualified team, the tool should have a good software architecture, so that it will be helpful for you for a longer term, and it can be easily gelled up with the technology or the infrastructure or the IT infrastructure which we are using in the company. And as I said, it should be user friendly, and the most important thing is that the post go live support for the users. So once the tool, I mean, even if you onboard the tool, the post live facility or the service the tool vendor provides, please have a a complete overview about it, because that will be be a concerning point at the later stage. But if you have a good tool or a good vendor at place, I mean, you will get a good service at that point of time when your tool has already been implemented. Because once you have purchased, once you have paid, everything is being done. I mean, post go live services will be really helpful for you guys.
Right. Thank you. Aakash, one more point I want to ask you. How do you do internal selling? Because today, if somebody is not using technology, you have RBI's note circular onto the chief CCOs of head, but other your tax head, finance head, your HR head, they may not be supporting. How do you do an internal selling?
So many times it happened. I mean, when we were in the process of implementation of the tool, it happened that the functional leaders, I mean, they are not very helpful. I mean, they are okay what they are doing. I mean, they usually generally say that abhi tak to company chali rahi thi na, abhi bhi chalegi. So it's not like there are a lot of things, people are not aware about it, whether those compliances are applicable or not. So we need to, train them properly, educate them properly. So what I have done is I have given them the proper trainings, and I have said that what is there for them as the subject matter expert. So tomorrow, there are a lot of audits, concurrent audit, statutory audit, internal audit happen, on a frequent basis in the organization. So people also get, very, disturbed that every time audit, 100% audit during the year it is happening. But when this tool is coming into place, we give the access, of the to the internal auditors and the statutory auditors to go and pull out the data, whatever is required there from the system. Compliance tool also help as a repository function for us, where user need to once just perform the compliance, attach the evidence. It is like for forever. And then whenever any audit is coming up, or as now it is mandated by RBI, I'm sure that when RBI inspection will come next year, they will also ask for the tool or the mechanism what the people are using. And they will ask that how you store the data, what is the technology, what is data privacy rules, whether you're complying or not, IT infrastructure, cyber security. There are a lot of things which will get pitched in. So, so as a functional leaders, I mean, I have something for everybody. As a subject matter, that what I have for them specifically, and then I mean that is how I have proposed them, and somehow I got succeeded, and obviously with proper training and education, finally I get it implemented in the organization.
Right. Thank you, Akash. Vinay, I want to hear your opinion, because I remember when we were doing this implementation for you initially, there were a lot of pushbacks, people not willing to support, but you managed. I don't know what did you do. So maybe you want to share some tips what you did internally to ensure that everything fell in line for you.
See, Jyant, I think first of all, the compliance officer has to, understand what system he or she is going to implement in the organization. First of all, the fellow has to be onboarded with the thought. And once it is convinced, and now this is a regulatory, instruction or guide mandate, then one has to implement. I think the right way to proceed is to first of all, identify a tool which is which serves the requirement of the organization, and then build a proposal for the board of directors to kind of approve it, in the sense that it has to be taken from the top at the beginning. Because if you try to implement something on your own, and you are going from one desk to the other, believe me, everybody is very, very busy.
Right.
Okay. I mean, if you go to go to the CFO or go to the chief operating officer or to even to the MD, he will say that, okay, fine, we will look into it, we will come back to it and all of that. But you have to first of all see the value proposition in it, and then you have to obviously convince your managing director, and then take the proposal to the board for its implementation. And once it has the so-called Ashirwad of the board, you have one battle won. And then next comes, how to percolate down the team and bring about the change. See, everybody is averse to the change. I mean, if you say that this is something that I'm going to introduce in the company, that I'm going to change the system and process here, nobody is going to listen to you. You have to educate to them in a proper manner. As Aakash also mentioned, that it has to be trained. I mean, the value proposition has to be explained to them that, look, by this particular process, you will be able to arrive efficiencies, and you will be able to arrive at, accuracies. And also the system is going to be a useful tool for the audits to come at a later date or at a future date. And then gradually start building the process, and be open for the changes and the suggestion, because you cannot do it in a my way or a highway. It has to be a collaborative approach. Everyone has their own views and opinions, and that has to be respected, and that has to be appreciated. So you also have to be with an open mind go about it. Many a times you see that there is one department saying that it is not my responsibility, the other is saying that it is my responsibility, it is not my responsibility. Then what? And these things have to be managed, so which is called change management, and it happens whenever any new system or a process gets introduced. So it's a gradual process, but as I've said, the first stepping stone is to first of all get convinced that yes, this is the solution that is going to help, and these are the benefits that I'm going to derive out of it. You believe in yourself, then others are going to believe in you.
Right. No, thank you. And one point which you very, very rightly pointed out is having Ashirwad of the top of the board. I think that is very important. Unless until you have the voice set from the top, it doesn't really work. And one thing in my experience, I've seen, I shouldn't be saying this, but there's a very high rate of failure of this compliance solution overall as an industry. Uh, because people, they end up implementing, they take a fast decisions without, properly maybe evaluating what is the right thing, or, aligning the people, as a that doing an internal selling by, by training, by educating them as to how, it will be helpful for them, because you just can't push down the throat for anyone. Because we're all working in a large organization, everybody is experienced. If they don't see a value in this, they would not support you in your initiative. So you have to drive value for them. You have to understand how it is going to benefit them, and then obviously put a right mechanism of monitoring and controlling it. And lastly, I want to close on one thing. Even if you're using a compliance management solution, please go back and relook what you're using, because RBI is going to check whether you're effectively using it or not. Or even if RBI doesn't check, I'm sure your director, independent director, somebody is going to start asking you, because now this will be a very focused area. If your people are not using the solutions effectively, and relook at your strategy, relook at what technology you're using, because today in market there are advanced technologies which are available, and don't fall for the big names, because today we are we have replaced the solutions from possibly a lot of big the big fours, who have not been effectively provide the right services. Don't fall for the name. Look at the right solution for you. Look at the right uh, longevity for you. And Akash rightly pointed out, it's like a marriage. You you implement something. It's not going to be possible for you to come out of it and start use something else tomorrow. These are enterprise-wide implementation. You will take at least 2 quarters, even if you're a smaller one. You will take at least 2 quarters to get things in place. And if you have to think about changing it, trust me, it's going to be a nightmare for you. So, you rather say, okay, I'll do it in my next organization rather than trying to do it in the current one if you have to replace it, right? That's how it big a pain it becomes if you don't make a right decision. So effectively, you understand what is right for you, because on the face of it, on Excel sheets, Baleno and BMW look same. Okay, so you have to understand, you have to use your mind, you have to use your intuitions, you have to spend more time interacting with it. One 30-minute demo, one 30-minute discussion with anybody will not help you take a right decision, because these are decisions for like life. When you take any life decisions, you do a lot of due diligence, you spend time, do that, understand, spend more time, take more demos. Don't worry, the other guys is on the other side is here to convince you, to work with them. So if you need 2 demos, go ahead and take 2 demos, go ahead and take 3 demos, but be rightly convinced before you make a right decision, before you make decision for yourself. And if you're exploring one, feel free to reach out to us. Our email ID is here, info@lawbit.com. Our consultants will be happy to get in touch with you and run you through the journey as to how we can be your partner for in this journey. And feel free to ask anything. Amreen, you had one question in the chat box. I hope I have answered it. You will have to do a bit of a due diligence before you really look at what to finalize. It doesn't happen. You have to use your you use the guts. You have to use your maybe talk to industry. In fact, you understand, go deeper, and then make a right decision for yourself. Thank you so much, Aakash. Vinay, any concluding remarks from your side? I think we have today we are well on time.
No, so I think the question which Amarin, I would also like to touch upon from a different perspective. See, having a tool or implementing a compliance monitoring system does not spare a compliance officer from any slippages, if that happens. So it has to be, looked upon, tested over a period of time, how the compliances are being reported, whether it is being reported within the desired time frame, whether anything has been missed out or not missed out. So compliance solution can only, help you to automate the process. And obviously reliance is definitely there, but then uh, at the end of the day, the organization, the entity is responsible for any non-compliance that happens. That's point number one. Second is, what I have seen, Jayant, is nothing is perfect, neither is the marriage, right? So you have to, if you are 80% satisfied with the tool, I think you are home. You should, kind of, go ahead with it. And lastly, which is, I was actually, that came to my mind that, we are Indians, and we do not wake up unless there is a timeline given by the regulator. So here it is June, June 30th, and everybody is going to helter-skelter do whatever is required under the sun to kind of get these things implemented. So I think it is a right time also, perhaps, one can look at it. You showed so many compliance, 8,000, I mean, it is mind-blowing. So 8,000 compliance, how can, it is not even manually possible, and these things are going to, become more and more complex going forward. So technology is the way to go. Technology is
Right.
the way to go.
Right.
Either you like it or not like it, that's your choice, but there's no option.
Right. Oh, thank you. I think this is quite helpful, insightful. Akash, any uh, thoughts from your side?
Yeah, Jayant, I think my suggestion, to all the participants is that make a right decision. If you think that still you are confused, make a team in the office with the right people, whether it is related to IT or or the your seniors or whoever it is. Make a right team. Please plan strategically. Take some time, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. Take a overview of the tool and then decide. Because once you have finalized it, it will be for a longer term in the organization. Whether you are there or not there in the organization, the tool will be there for a longer period of time. So please think twice and look into the tool very thoroughly and then shortlist and move ahead.
Right. No, thank you so much. I think this was quite interesting, quite insightful. And I'm sure everyone would have taken some tips for themselves to look into it. And if you still have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, ask anything, post that also. And we will also be uploading the recording of the session on our YouTube channel. Akshit has already shared a link of our YouTube channel on the chat box. You may subscribe it so that moment it is uploaded, you can get a link to it, and you may share with your colleagues who would want to be part of the evaluation committee with you to look into it, so that they also have this perspective which Vinay and Akash has shared today. And thank you so much, Vinay. Thank you so much, Akash, for joining in today. And thanks
Thank you, Jyant.
everyone. And we look forward to interact with you, and feel free to reach out. Have a good day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thanks,
you. Thank
everyone.
you, Jyant. Thank you, everyone.